I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Your brain is processing the day's social interactions right now, replaying conversations, sorting emotions, filing away faces and voices into memory. You'll discover why some minds need more silence after noise, and understand why your energy works differently than you might have been told. Welcome to Psychology for Sleep. Wherever you are right now, perhaps feeling that familiar heaviness after being around people, or simply noticing how your body craves stillness after the day's demands. Allow yourself this moment of quiet. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about introversion and rest, from the neuroscience of social exhaustion, to how your brain restores itself in silence, to the beautiful truth that needing more sleep doesn't mean something's wrong with you. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A gentle subscribe, like, or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more energy-sensitive souls to discover this sanctuary, and brings us closer to protecting this peaceful space. One sleepy soul at a time. Your quiet presence here matters. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench. Your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into peaceful fog of approaching sleep. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating in a space where all social performance fades away. Let your mind release the day's interactions. No one needs anything from you here. And now we begin. Your brain uses significantly more glucose during social interaction than during solitary tasks. Research on cognitive neuroscience has found that regions responsible for reading social cues, managing impression formation, and regulating emotional responses consume up to 23% more metabolic energy during conversation compared to individual problem solving. This isn't psychological preference. It's measurable biological cost. Your brain, like any organ, runs on limited fuel. Social situations demand constant prediction. What does that expression mean? Is my response appropriate? Should I speak now or wait? Each micro-decision burns glucose. For some nervous systems, this expenditure happens faster and more intensely than others. By the end of a gathering, your cognitive reserves aren't just depleted. They're genuinely, physically exhausted. The prefrontal cortex, your brain's executive control center, shows heightened activation in individuals with introverted traits during social engagement. Recent fMRI research examining brain activity during group interactions has revealed that introverted participants often maintain elevated prefrontal activity throughout social encounters, whereas extroverted participants show activity that peaks early, then stabilizes. Think of it like running an engine at higher power continuously versus cruising comfortably. The prefrontal cortex manages social appropriateness and self-monitoring. When it works harder for longer periods, fatigue becomes inevitable. This explains why a 2-hour dinner can leave you feeling like you've worked overtime. Your brain has been working overtime. Dopamine sensitivity differs between introverted and extroverted nervous systems. Research on personality and neurotransmitters has found that individuals scoring high on introversion scales show different dopamine processing patterns. Their brains appear more sensitive to the dopamine present, requiring less external stimulation to feel satisfied, while producing less of it during high-energy social activities. Extroverted nervous systems tend to require more stimulation to achieve similar satisfaction. Neither is better. They're simply different operating systems. This means what feels energizing to one person genuinely feels depleting to another, through fundamental neurochemistry rather than choice. After social events, your dopamine levels may drop below baseline, creating a biological need for recovery. Cortisol, your body's stress hormone, rises more gradually but remains elevated longer in introverted individuals following social exposure. Longitudinal research tracking participants over extended periods has measured salivary cortisol before, during, and after social situations. Introverted participants showed cortisol levels that increased gently over 30 to 45 minutes and stayed elevated for up to 3 hours afterward. Extroverted participants peaked earlier and returned to baseline within an hour. Cortisol mobilizes your body's resources, but prolonged elevation leads to fatigue and disrupted sleep. When people wonder why you're tired after a party, this is part of the answer. Your stress response was active longer. The amygdala, your brain's alert detection center, processes social situations differently based on temperament. Research on brain imaging and introversion shows that nervous systems wired toward introversion demonstrate increased amygdala responsiveness to unfamiliar faces, crowded environments, and unpredictable social dynamics. This doesn't mean introverts are fearful. It means their nervous systems process more information about potential social complexity. The amygdala quietly scans who might be uncomfortable. What social rules apply? Is this situation predictable? In a room of strangers, this awareness system runs steadily. By evening's end, you're tired not just from talking, but from your brain's protective attention. Sleep is when the amygdala finally rests, when vigilance softens. Introverted nervous systems show greater sensitivity to sensory input, a trait researchers now call sensory processing sensitivity. Dr. Elaine Aron's ongoing research has documented that individuals high in this trait, about 70% of whom also identify as introverted, process sensory information more deeply. Bright lights, loud voices, overlapping conversations, background music, people moving in your peripheral vision. All of this data flows into your brain simultaneously during social events. Your system doesn't filter it out as effectively as less sensitive systems do. It processes all of it, deeply and thoroughly. By the time you leave, you're carrying the sensory imprint of dozens of inputs. Sleep becomes the only state where this processing can integrate without new stimulation flooding in. Your autonomic nervous system, which controls involuntary functions like heart rate and digestion, operates differently during social interaction if you're dispositionally introverted. Recent research has found that introverted participants showed increased sympathetic nervous system activation, the fight or flight branch, during group activities, even pleasant ones. Heart rate variability decreased, breathing patterns became shallower, and skin conductance increased. These are signs your body is in a state of heightened arousal, preparing to respond to demands. After hours in this state, your parasympathetic system, the rest and digest branch, needs extended time to restore balance. Sleep is when parasympathetic dominance can finally return, when your heart rate slows deeply, when true physiological recovery begins. The default mode network, A set of brain regions active during rest and introspection shows different activation patterns in introverted versus extroverted individuals. Recent studies have found that introverted participants showed stronger connectivity within the default mode network during wakeful rest, and that social interaction temporarily suppressed this network's activity. Think of the default mode network as your brain's self-referential processing system, where you integrate experiences, consolidate identity, and make meaning. When you're socializing, this network dims. You're outwardly focused, responding to others. When you finally have solitude, especially during sleep, this network reactivates fully. That's why you often wake up with insights or clarity about social situations. Your default mode network was working overnight. Sleep architecture itself differs subtly based on personality traits and recent experiences. Research examining sleep patterns has found that individuals high in introversion who reported high social exposure in the previous 12 hours showed longer REM latency. It took them longer to enter REM sleep and more fragmented deep sleep stages. Why? Because the nervous system was still processing. Social experiences are emotionally complex. Your brain needs to sort through conversational nuances, emotional undertones, and relational dynamics. This processing happens largely during REM sleep. After socially intense days, your brain has more sorting to do, which can delay sleep onset and create a feeling of restless sleep, even when you're desperate for rest. So yes, the need for more sleep after social events isn't weakness or antisocial tendency. It's your body's design following its biological template. What we're discovering is that introversion isn't about shyness or disliking people. It's about how your brain allocates energy, processes stimulation, and restores itself. And restoration, for your particular wiring, requires more solitude and more sleep than other systems might need. This isn't something to fix. It's something to understand, honor, and design your life around. We're just beginning this journey through the science of your rest. Neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections, happens primarily during sleep. After social events, introverted brains have logged significant new information. Names, faces, conversational content, social hierarchies, emotional tones. Research on sleep and memory has found that individuals process and consolidate social memories more actively during sleep following high-stimulation social days. This consolidation requires energy. Your brain isn't resting passively. It's filing, connecting, and integrating. The more complex the social input, the more sleep your brain needs to complete this filing system. When you wake exhausted despite 8 hours of sleep after a big event, it's often because your brain worked overtime processing the previous day's social data. Glymphatic system activity, which clears metabolic waste from your brain, functions most efficiently during deep sleep, discovered more fully in the past decade and refined through ongoing research. The glymphatic system operates like a nighttime cleaning crew, flushing out toxins that accumulate during waking hours. Social activity generates more metabolic byproducts in the brain. Remember that glucose consumption increased from earlier. After social exertion, your brain has more waste to clear. If you don't get sufficient deep sleep, this waste lingers, contributing to brain fog, fatigue, and difficulty concentrating the next day. Introverts often report needing a full recovery day after intense socializing. Part of that is glymphatic restoration, giving your brain time to fully clean house. The insula, a brain region involved in interoception, awareness of your internal body states, shows heightened activation in introverted individuals. Research suggests that people high in introversion are more aware of subtle physiological changes, heart rate shifts, muscle tension, stomach sensations, breathing rhythm. During social events, you're likely more conscious of your body's discomfort signals, the tightness in your chest, the tension in your shoulders, the urge to leave. This isn't anxiety necessarily. It's accurate perception. Your body is sending signals that it's working hard, and you're receiving them clearly. After the event, you're also more aware of how deeply tired you feel, how much your system needs rest. This awareness is a gift when you listen to it. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, is released during positive social interaction. But recent research shows that oxytocin's effects vary based on context and individual differences. For some introverted individuals, oxytocin during group settings can actually increase social vigilance and stress sensitivity rather than pure relaxation. Why? Because oxytocin also heightens attention to social cues and potential social complexity. In one-on-one or small, trusted groups, oxytocin feels soothing. In large, unpredictable groups, it can amplify the sense of being on. After such events, your system needs time to metabolize the oxytocin, let the vigilance fade, and return to baseline. Sleep provides that metabolic reset. Mirror neurons, which activate both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing it, may function more intensely in highly sensitive or introverted nervous systems. Though still being researched actively, preliminary findings suggest that individuals high in empathy and introversion show broader mirror neuron activation during social observation. This means when you watch someone's emotional expression, your brain partially experiences that emotion. In a room of 20 people, you're not just managing your own emotional state. You're unconsciously mirroring fragments of 20 emotional states. By the end of the night, you've emotionally lived through a crowd. Sleep is when your brain finally separates your emotions from the absorbed emotions of others, restoring your sense of singular self. Chronotype, your natural sleep-wake preference, correlates gently with introversion-extroversion traits. Research examining personality and sleep timing has found that individuals identifying as introverted are somewhat more likely to be evening chronotypes, night owls, and to prefer longer total sleep time. Evening types also show delayed cortisol awakening response, meaning their alertness hormone rises more slowly in the morning. If you're an introverted evening type who attended a morning social event, you may have been functioning outside your optimal circadian window, adding another layer of tiredness. Emotional labor. The process of managing and regulating emotions to meet social expectations is metabolically costly. Research on service workers, caregivers, and teachers has long shown that emotional labor causes fatigue. But newer research applies this to everyday social interaction. Introverted individuals report higher subjective emotional labor during casual socializing, smiling when tired, appearing engaged when overwhelmed, suppressing the desire to leave. Each act of emotional regulation requires prefrontal cortex activation and glucose. You're not just talking, you're performing. After hours of performance, your brain needs sleep to drop the mask, stop regulating, and simply exist without an audience. The hippocampus, critical for forming new memories, becomes less efficient under conditions of stress and fatigue. If you've noticed that you sometimes struggle to remember details from social events, names, specific conversations, even whether something happened at this party or a different one, it's partly because your hippocampus was operating under load. Social stimulation, especially when prolonged, creates a stress response that impairs encoding. During sleep, particularly during slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus replays and consolidates the memories it did manage to form. This is why details sometimes come back to you the next morning. Your hippocampus finished its filing work overnight. But if sleep is cut short or disrupted, those memories may never fully solidify, leaving you with a hazy recollection of the entire event. Introverts and extroverts show different neural responses to rewards, particularly social rewards. Studies using fMRI have found that extroverted participants showed strong activation in the nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center, when receiving social feedback like smiles, laughter, or verbal praise. Introverted participants showed less activation in this region during social rewards, but stronger activation during solitary rewards, like solving a puzzle or reading. This suggests that your biology genuinely doesn't find large group socializing as rewarding. Not because you're antisocial, but because your reward system is calibrated differently. After an event where your brain received little reward signal despite high effort, you're left with a deficit. Effort without reward equals depletion. Sleep allows your brain to recalibrate its reward baseline without needing external input. The vagus nerve, a major component of your parasympathetic nervous system, shows different tone and reactivity in individuals with varying temperaments. Research examining heart rate variability as a measure of vagal tone has found that introverted individuals often have lower baseline vagal tone, meaning their rest and digest system is less dominant during waking hours. Social situations, which activate the sympathetic system, further suppress vagal activity. After an event, it can take hours for vagal tone to return to baseline. This is why you might feel wired and tired simultaneously. Sympathetic activation hasn't fully released. Sleep, particularly deep sleep, allows the vagus nerve to fully engage, bringing your body into genuine parasympathetic dominance, where healing and restoration occur. Social jet lag, a term usually applied to mismatches between biological and social time, also applies to personality-environment mismatch. When an introverted person spends extended time in extroversion-demanding environments, open offices, networking events, group activities, they experience a form of circadian disruption. Their internal state wants solitude and lower stimulation, but the environment demands the opposite. This misalignment creates stress, similar to traveling across time zones. After the event ends, you need recovery time not just from the activity itself, but from the misalignment. Sleep is the primary mechanism your body uses to realign internal state with external reality, allowing you to reset. Interoceptive accuracy, the ability to correctly perceive your internal body signals, tends to be higher in introverted individuals. Studies using heartbeat detection tasks have found that people high in introversion could more accurately count their own heartbeats without external feedback. This means you're likely better at knowing when you're truly tired, truly hungry, truly overstimulated. But in social situations, we often override these signals, staying longer than feels comfortable, smiling through exhaustion, ignoring the body's requests to leave. After the event, the accumulated cost of ignoring accurate internal signals hits hard. Sleep is when your body finally gets to express its true state without you overriding it. This is why you sometimes sleep for 10 or 12 hours after big social events. Your body is catching up on all the rest signals you postponed. The anterior cingulate cortex, involved in noticing errors and resolving conflicts, shows heightened sensitivity in introverted individuals during social tasks. Recent studies have found that when introverted participants made small social missteps, saying something awkward, missing a social cue, their anterior cingulate remained gently active for some time afterward. This is the neurological basis of social reflection. Your brain continues processing, quietly replaying the moment, learning from it. This thoughtful processing can delay sleep onset initially, but it also helps you grow. Only when this reflection naturally completes, or when restful exhaustion arrives, can deep sleep begin. Immune function is influenced by both sleep and stress, creating a crucial link to post-social fatigue. Research has shown that social stress, even mild stress from pleasant but demanding interactions, temporarily suppresses certain immune functions. After a social event, your immune system may be slightly compromised. Sleep is when immune function restores and strengthens. Natural killer cells, which fight infections and cancer cells, proliferate during sleep. If you're introverted and you've noticed that you sometimes get sick after big social events, it's not coincidence. The combination of stress-induced immune suppression and potential sleep disruption creates vulnerability. Your body needs extended sleep not just for the brain, but to rebuild immune defenses. After all of this, one truth becomes clear. You are not broken, antisocial, or weak. You are a nervous system designed for depth over breadth, for careful processing over rapid consumption, for quality connection over quantity. The fatigue you feel after social events is your body telling the truth, and the sleep you need is not excessive. It's precisely calibrated to your design. We're 1/4 through this journey, and already the science reveals what you may have always felt. Your need for rest is valid, real, and worthy of respect. Take a slow breath and notice the relief of being alone with your thoughts. Feel how different this silence is from the noise you left behind. Your energy is yours again, not being shared, not being performed, not being managed for someone else's comfort. Imagine a gentle boundary forming around you, invisible but real, keeping your energy contained, letting it restore in stillness. You don't owe your energy to anyone, not even in memory, not even in worry about what they thought of you. Let it all go. Let your energy return fully to you. Now we continue. Sleep pressure, the biological drive to sleep that builds throughout wakefulness, accumulates faster when cognitive and emotional demands are high. Researchers measuring adenosine, a neurotransmitter that promotes sleepiness, have found that complex cognitive tasks and emotionally demanding situations increase adenosine buildup more rapidly than passive activities. After a social event, your adenosine levels are elevated, creating strong sleep pressure. This is why you might feel suddenly, overwhelmingly tired once you're finally alone. The pressure that's been building all evening hits at once. Listening to this signal and allowing sleep to come is biologically appropriate. Fighting it with caffeine or distraction only delays the inevitable crash. REM sleep, the stage associated with vivid dreaming and emotional processing, increases proportionally after emotionally intense days. Studies tracking sleep architecture following stressful events show that REM percentage can increase by up to 15%. After social events rich in emotional content, conflict, connection, performance anxiety, joy, your brain needs more REM time to process. This is why you might dream extensively after parties or gatherings, sometimes dreaming directly about the people you met. Your brain is running simulations, processing relational dynamics, integrating social learning. Cutting this REM time short by waking early or sleeping in a disrupted environment means emotional processing remains incomplete, leaving you feeling emotionally unsettled the next day. The concept of social baseline theory suggests that humans regulate their nervous systems partly through connection with others. But recent refinements to this theory acknowledge that for some temperaments, solitude, not connection, serves as the regulating baseline. If you're introverted, your system may regulate best when alone, when you can control stimulation levels, when you don't have to predict or respond to others. Social events pull you away from your regulatory baseline. Sleep is the deepest form of solitude available, the most complete withdrawal from social demand. It's not escapism. It's returning to the state where your biology functions most efficiently. Research on introvert hangovers, the deep exhaustion and fog following social overextension, has increased in the past 2 years. Scientists now recognize this as a legitimate physiological state. After exceeding your social capacity, your nervous system enters a gentle recovery mode characterized by lower dopamine, elevated cortisol, and quieter prefrontal cortex activity. Symptoms include difficulty deciding, increased sensitivity, and desire for solitude. Sleep is the primary restoration. During sleep, cortisol settles, dopamine-producing regions rest, and the prefrontal cortex undergoes renewal. One good night often isn't enough after intense social time. Your system may need 2 or 3 nights of extended sleep to fully restore. The orbitofrontal cortex, involved in evaluating social rewards and regulating social behavior, shows sustained activation in introverted individuals throughout social encounters. Research has found that this region essentially stays on the entire time you're in a social setting, constantly evaluating. Is this interaction rewarding enough to continue? Should I adjust my behavior? What are the social costs and benefits of my next move? For extroverted individuals, this evaluation system engages more intermittently. For you, it runs continuously. By the end of an event, your orbitofrontal cortex has been working for hours without break. During sleep, this region finally powers down. The evaluative process stops. You're released from the constant calculation of social worth. Temperature regulation during sleep affects restoration quality, and introverted individuals may be more sensitive to temperature disruptions. Research on sensory sensitivity suggests that people high in introversion and sensory processing sensitivity report more sleep disruptions from temperature variations. after a socially taxing day, when your body desperately needs restorative sleep. Even small temperature discomforts, room too warm, blankets too heavy, can fragment sleep architecture. Your body, already on edge from social exertion, can't tolerate additional discomfort. This is why you might need very specific sleep conditions after big events. Cool room, familiar bedding, minimal sensory disruption. It's not being high maintenance. It's creating the conditions your particular biology requires for deep restoration. Slow wave sleep, the deepest stage where physical restoration occurs most intensely, may be especially critical after social exertion. Recent research examining muscle tension, heart rate variability, and growth hormone release during slow-wave sleep has found that individuals who reported high social stress showed the greatest physiological recovery gains during this stage. Your muscles, which may have been tense for hours during the event, finally release fully. Your heart rate drops to its lowest point. Growth hormone, which repairs tissue and consolidates memories, peaks. If something disrupts your slow-wave sleep, alcohol from the party, caffeine consumed to stay alert, anxiety about the next day, you miss this critical restoration window. This is why sleep after drinking at a social event feels less restorative, even if you slept for hours. The concept of cognitive load helps explain why conversation is more tiring for introverts than for extroverts. Cognitive load refers to the total amount of mental effort being used in working memory. During conversation, you're simultaneously tracking what the other person is saying, what you want to say next, nonverbal cues, social appropriateness, background environment, emotional undertones, and your own internal state. For introverted nervous systems, which process information more deeply, this load is heavier. Each conversation adds to the cumulative load. By evening's end, your working memory is exhausted. Sleep is when working memory clears, when the temporary files are either saved to long-term memory or deleted. Without sufficient sleep, yesterday's cognitive load carries into today, creating a backlog that makes every interaction feel harder. Neuroinflammation, subtle activation of the brain's immune response, can result from various forms of chronic stress. Emerging research suggests that prolonged stress, including social stress that doesn't match your temperamental needs, may contribute to temporary inflammation markers in the body. Symptoms can include mental fog, difficulty concentrating, and heightened sensitivity, exactly what many introverts describe after overextending socially. Sleep is powerfully restorative. During deep sleep, the body's anti-inflammatory processes activate, helping to restore balance. This is one reason you might wake feeling clearer and calmer after a long sleep following social exhaustion. The idea of energy accounting in personality psychology suggests that each person has a daily budget of social energy. For introverts, social interactions are withdrawals from this account, while solitude and rest are deposits. Extroverts have a different accounting system where social interaction can be both withdrawal and deposit. They often gain energy from connection. After a social event, your account may be deeply in deficit. Sleep is the largest deposit you can make. 8 hours of quality sleep might restore you to baseline. But if the deficit is severe, say, a multi-day conference or family gathering, You may need several nights of extended sleep, plus waking solitude, to return to positive balance. Ignoring this deficit and immediately engaging in more social activity creates chronic energy debt, which eventually manifests as burnout. Attachment style. Your pattern of relating to others formed in early childhood intersects with introversion in complex ways. Recent research examining attachment and temperament has found that introverts with anxious attachment patterns experience social events as particularly draining because they're simultaneously craving connection and feeling overwhelmed by it. Introverts with avoidant attachment may feel drained by the emotional demand of appearing engaged. Those with secure attachment but introverted temperament still feel drained, but with less emotional conflict about it. Regardless of attachment style, the physiological need for sleep remains after social exertion, but your emotional relationship to that need, whether you feel guilty, relieved, ashamed, or accepting, may vary. The thyroid gland, which regulates metabolism and energy, can be temporarily affected by stress. While not directly linked to a single social event, patterns of chronic social overextension without adequate recovery can contribute to thyroid dysregulation over time. Some introverts who've spent years forcing themselves into extroversion-demanding lifestyles report developing thyroid issues, chronic fatigue, or adrenal fatigue. While this connection needs more research, the underlying principle is clear. Repeatedly exceeding your temperamental capacity without recovery creates systemic stress. Sleep is protective. Prioritizing sleep after social exertion isn't indulgence. It's preventing long-term damage to your endocrine and nervous systems. The phrase skin hunger refers to the human need for physical touch, but introverts may experience a parallel phenomenon. Silence, hunger, the acute need for absence of sound, especially human voices. After hours of conversation, your auditory cortex has been processing speech continuously. Even when you're not actively listening, your brain processes ambient conversation in the environment. By evening's end, you may feel almost desperate for silence. This isn't misanthropy. It's sensory satiation. Sleep provides the deepest silence. No voices. No need to listen. No processing of speech. Many introverts report that the moments of falling asleep are among the most relieving of the day, precisely because the auditory demand finally ends. Masking, the practice of hiding your true personality to fit social expectations, is exhausting at a neurological level. Research on autistic masking has shown that suppressing authentic responses and performing neurotypical behavior creates measurable cognitive fatigue. Similar principles apply to introverts masking as extroverts. When you pretend to be more outgoing, enthusiastic, or socially energized than you feel, you're using executive function to override authentic impulses. This override requires constant prefrontal cortex engagement. After hours of masking, you're not just tired from socializing. You're tired from pretending. Sleep allows you to drop the mask completely. In sleep, there's no performance, no audience, no need to be anything other than exactly what you are. This complete authenticity, even unconsciously, is deeply restorative. And so we arrive at a turning point in understanding. The question isn't why do introverts need more sleep after social events? The question is, how have we built a world that treats this natural need as a problem? Your biology is not disordered. The mismatch between your needs and societal expectations creates the friction. Sleep is your sanctuary, your reset, your return to self. Honoring this need isn't antisocial. It's deeply, beautifully self-aware. You're still here, still awake, still thinking through these patterns in your own life. Take a slow breath. Notice how your body feels a little more understood now, as if the tiredness you've carried has been given a name, a reason, a validity. We're exploring the science of your energy together. You and I, and everyone listening, in quiet rooms around the world, drifting through facts like pieces of a puzzle, finally fitting together. There's no rush, no judgment, just the gentle relief of recognition. Let's continue. Not all introverts are identical. Introversion exists on a spectrum, and where you fall on that spectrum affects your specific sleep needs. Research distinguishes between social introverts who simply prefer small groups, thinking introverts who need time for internal processing, anxious introverts who experience social anxiety alongside introversion, and restrained introverts who are slow to warm up. Each subtype shows slightly different patterns of fatigue and recovery. A social introvert might recover with 6 hours of sleep after a party. A thinking introvert might need 8+ solitary waking time to process. Understanding your specific subtype helps you predict and plan for your recovery needs more accurately. Ambiversion, the middle point between introversion and extroversion, describes about 2/3 of the population. If you're ambiverted, your sleep needs after social events depend heavily on context. Who you were with, how long, what type of interaction. An ambiverted person might feel energized after dinner with close friends but exhausted after a networking event. Your recovery sleep need isn't fixed. It fluctuates based on the social energy math of each specific situation. This variability is normal. It doesn't mean you're inconsistent or confused about your personality. It means you're responding accurately to different levels of demand. Cultural context shapes how introversion is perceived, and therefore how much additional stress it creates. In cultures that highly value group harmony and social participation, many East Asian and Latin American cultures, being introverted can carry more social pressure and therefore more fatigue. In cultures that value independence and individual achievement, many Northern European and North American subcultures, introversion may be more accepted. If you're an introvert in a culture that pathologizes or devalues your temperament, you carry an extra layer of stress, not just the social interaction itself, but the shame or anxiety about your response to it. This additional emotional load requires additional sleep for processing and recovery. Life stage affects how introversion and sleep intersect. Adolescent introverts often face intense pressure to socialize as peer relationships become central. College-age introverts may struggle with dormitory living and constant social availability. Adult introverts might navigate workplace expectations or parenting demands. Older introverts often report finally feeling free to honor their needs after decades of forcing extroversion. Research on aging and personality has found that older introverts generally report better sleep quality than older extroverts, possibly because they've learned to protect their energy boundaries. The path to honoring your sleep needs often takes years of self-understanding and self-advocacy. Highly sensitive person, a trait identified by Dr. Elaine Aron, overlaps with, but isn't identical to, introversion. About 30% of HSPs are extroverted, but for the 70% who are also introverted, The combination creates particularly intense post-social fatigue. HSPs process sensory and emotional information deeply. Introverts need more recovery time after external stimulation. Together, these traits mean you're both absorbing more from social situations and needing more time to process what you absorbed. Sleep needs for introverted HSPs can be significantly higher than for introverts who aren't highly sensitive. This isn't excessive. It's proportional to the depth of processing your biology performs. Neurodivergence, autism, ADHD, and other neurological differences frequently co-occurs with introversion and adds layers to sleep needs. Many autistic individuals identify as introverted and require extensive recovery time after masking or navigating neurotypical social expectations. ADHD individuals may be introverted and struggle with overstimulation in social settings, leading to exhaustion. Sleep research on neurodivergent populations consistently shows higher rates of sleep disturbances, but also higher sleep needs. If you're both introverted and neurodivergent, your post-social sleep requirement may be substantially longer than for neurotypical introverts. This is medical reality, not personal weakness. Gender socialization complicates introversion. Research suggests that introverted girls and women face more pressure to perform social warmth, emotional labor, and relational maintenance than introverted boys and men. This gendered expectation adds fatigue. After a social event, an introverted woman may have expended energy not just on the interaction itself, but on meeting gendered expectations for how she should interact. Smiling more, nurturing more, dampening her own needs for others' comfort. This additional labor requires additional recovery. Sleep becomes not just physical rest, but respite from gendered performance. Introversion is heritable. Twin studies examining personality traits have found that introversion-extroversion has a genetic component estimated between 40 and 60%. If one or both of your parents were introverted, you likely inherited aspects of the nervous system wiring that creates this temperament. This also means your sleep patterns may mirror those of introverted family members. Understanding the genetic component can reduce self-blame. You didn't choose to be wired this way, and you can't simply decide to change it. You can only understand it, accept it, and design your life to work with it rather than against it. Neuroplasticity means your brain can adapt, but it doesn't mean you can or should rewire your basic temperament. Some self-help advice suggests you can train yourself to become more extroverted, to need less recovery time. While you can develop social skills and become more comfortable in social settings, research suggests core temperament remains relatively stable across the lifespan. Trying to fundamentally change your introversion is like trying to change your height. Possible on small margins, but ultimately you're working against your biological design. The healthier path is optimizing your life for your actual temperament, including protecting the sleep time you genuinely need. Halfway through our journey, a gentle truth settles in. You are not a failed extrovert. You are a successful you. The sleep you need is the sleep your particular biology requires to function optimally. Honoring that need isn't selfish. It's necessary. And perhaps the deepest rest comes not just from hours of sleep, but from finally releasing the belief that you should be different than you are. Let your body sink deeper into rest. Imagine your nervous system as an intricate instrument, perfectly tuned to perceive depth, nuance, subtlety, not broken. Not too much, not too little, just precisely calibrated to your purpose. What if the fatigue you feel after socializing isn't a flaw, but feedback? Your body telling you the truth about what it needs. Feel the relief of accepting this, of not fighting it anymore. You are designed for quality, not quantity, for depth, not breadth. And your need for sleep is part of that beautiful design. Now we continue. Sleep hygiene. The practices that promote good sleep becomes especially important for introverts after social events. Creating a consistent bedtime routine signals to your biology that it's safe to power down. After social stimulation, this signal is crucial. Your body is still wired from the event. A routine, dimming lights, lowering temperature, perhaps gentle stretching or reading, activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Research shows that introverts benefit more from consistent sleep routines than extroverts do, possibly because their nervous systems need more explicit cues that the social performance is over and rest is permitted. The social hangover phenomenon often includes rumination, replaying social interactions, analyzing what you said, worrying about how you were perceived. This rumination activates the same brain regions as the original social interaction. You're not truly alone if you're still mentally in the conversation. Cognitive behavioral techniques for reducing rumination show effectiveness. But often, the simplest intervention is time plus sleep. As hours pass and sleep cycles occur, the emotional intensity of the memories naturally decreases. By morning, the interaction that felt cringeworthy at midnight often feels neutral. Your brain processed it overnight, integrated it, and removed some of the emotional charge. Light exposure affects sleep quality, and introverts may be more sensitive to light disruption. Research on sensory processing suggests that people high in introversion show greater melatonin suppression from evening light exposure. After a social event where you were in bright environments, restaurants with adorned homes with overhead lighting, your melatonin production may be delayed. This delays sleep onset. Using dim, warm lighting after social events and avoiding screens helps restore natural melatonin rhythms. Some introverts find that wearing blue light blocking glasses during evening events helps their post-event sleep come more easily. Physical exhaustion differs from mental exhaustion, and social events create primarily mental fatigue. After physical work, sleep comes naturally. After social performance, sleep may take longer to arrive, despite tiredness. Why mental fatigue doesn't always trigger the same sleep mechanisms as physical fatigue? Your body isn't tired. Your brain is. Gentle physical activity after social events, a short walk, soft yoga, simple stretching can help bridge this gap, signaling to your body that it's also time for rest. This somatic grounding often improves sleep onset and quality. Alcohol, often consumed at social events, paradoxically worsens sleep quality despite making you feel sleepy initially. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep, the stage where emotional processing occurs. After a night of drinking at a social event, you might sleep for 8 hours, but wake feeling unrefreshed because you missed critical REM cycles. For introverts who need that REM time to process the social experience, alcohol creates a double depletion: the original social fatigue plus impaired recovery. If you choose to drink at social events, understanding this trade-off helps you plan for extended recovery time. Caffeine, which many introverts use to get through social events, has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. If you drink coffee at 3 p.m. to stay alert during an afternoon gathering, half of that caffeine is still in your system at 9 p.m. For introverts who are already prone to difficulty sleeping after social stimulation, caffeine adds another barrier. It blocks adenosine receptors, preventing the natural accumulation of sleep pressure. You feel tired but can't fall asleep, wired and exhausted simultaneously. Being strategic about caffeine timing, cutting off by early afternoon before social events, protects your ability to recover through sleep afterward. The concept of social recovery time is gaining recognition in workplace wellness research. Some progressive companies now acknowledge that after conferences, team-building events, or intensive collaboration periods, employees, especially introverted ones, need time to recover. This might mean a lighter schedule the following day or permission to work remotely. Research shows that when recovery time is granted, productivity and well-being increase. When it's not granted, burnout rates rise. Advocating for your own recovery time, whether in work or personal life, isn't asking for special treatment. It's asking for conditions that allow you to function sustainably. Quality of social interaction matters more than quantity for determining recovery needs. 1 hour at a superficial networking event may require more recovery sleep than 3 hours with a close friend. Why? Because authenticity reduces cognitive load. When you can be yourself, you're not expending energy on performance, masking, or impression management. Shallow interactions, especially with strangers, require maximum effort for minimal reward. Deep interactions with trusted others still require energy, but the reward, genuine connection, offsets some of the cost. Structuring your social life toward quality over quantity reduces cumulative recovery debt. The physical environment of social events affects recovery needs. A crowded, loud bar with competing conversations and bright lights creates more sensory overwhelm than a quiet dinner in a calm space. After high sensory environments, your biology needs longer to downregulate. Sleep in these cases serves not just to recover from social interaction, but to recover from sensory bombardment. Choosing social environments that are lower in sensory intensity, quiet restaurants, outdoor spaces, small gatherings, reduces the total recovery load and makes sleep come more easily afterward. Predictability reduces stress. When you know what to expect at a social event, who will be there, what the format is, how long it will last, your biology can prepare. Uncertainty activates threat detection systems, surprise social demands, an unexpected guest, an event running longer than planned, a sudden change in format, increase stress and therefore increase recovery needs. When possible, gathering information about social events in advance helps you mentally prepare and may reduce the sleep debt incurred. When caught off guard, knowing that you'll need extra recovery time helps you plan accordingly rather than being surprised by your exhaustion. The permission to leave is powerful. Research on perceived control shows that simply knowing you can end a situation if it becomes overwhelming reduces stress during the situation. If you drove yourself to an event, you have an exit strategy. If someone else drove or social obligation makes leaving difficult, stress increases. Introverts report that social events feel more manageable when they have control over their departure. planning in advance for how you'll leave, your own transportation, a predetermined end time, a polite exit script, reduces anxiety during the event and may reduce the sleep debt afterward because you spent less time in an overwhelmed state. Social battery is a metaphor many introverts use to describe their limited social energy. While it's a metaphor, there's physiological reality beneath it. Your literal energy, glucose availability, neurotransmitter levels, stress hormone balance, does deplete with use. Recharging requires rest, and sleep is the deepest form of recharge. Some introverts report that they can feel their social battery depleting, increasing irritability, difficulty concentrating, desire to leave. Learning to recognize these signals and honoring them. Leaving when you hit 75% depleted rather than pushing to completely empty. Reduces the total recovery time needed. Boundaries are acts of self-care, not selfishness. Saying no to social invitations, leaving events early, or declining to attend altogether protects your sleep and your health. Research on boundary setting shows that people with clear boundaries report lower stress and better sleep quality. But setting boundaries as an introvert often means going against social expectations and risking others' disappointment. The short-term discomfort of boundary setting is almost always worth the long-term benefit of sustainable energy and sufficient sleep. People who truly care about you will respect your needs. Those who don't respect your needs are not entitled to your energy. Strategic socializing. Being intentional about which events you attend and how you participate can reduce cumulative fatigue. Not all social obligations are equally meaningful. Work networking events may be necessary for career advancement. Family gatherings may be valuable for maintaining relationships. But casual acquaintance parties, obligation-based events, or gatherings with people who drain you without reciprocal value, these can often be declined. Prioritizing meaningful social connection over obligation-based attendance reduces total social load and preserves energy for what matters. This often means fewer but deeper connections, which aligns perfectly with introverted strengths. Sleep debt accumulates. If you need 9 hours of sleep to recover from a social event, but only get 6, you're 3 hours in debt. If the next night you only get 7 hours, you're still 2 hours behind. Research shows that sleep debt can accumulate over weeks, creating chronic fatigue, impaired cognitive function, and increased health risks. For introverts who frequently exceed their social capacity without adequate recovery, chronic sleep debt becomes a serious health issue. Sometimes full recovery requires a weekend or even a week of extended sleep. Not because you're lazy, but because you're finally catching up on weeks or months of accumulated deficit. The role of medication in sleep quality is worth considering. Some introverts develop anxiety or depression, partly from years of forcing themselves into extroversion-demanding environments without recovery. If you take medication for mental health, it may affect sleep architecture, SSRIs, for example, can suppress REM sleep. Benzodiazepines can reduce deep sleep. This doesn't mean medication is bad. For many, the mental health benefits outweigh sleep architecture changes, but it does mean you might need more total sleep time to get equivalent recovery. Working with a healthcare provider who understands both your mental health needs and your sleep needs creates the best outcome. Technology complicates recovery. After social events, many introverts turn to screens for decompression. scrolling social media, watching videos, playing games. While this feels like rest, it's actually continued stimulation. Your visual cortex, your attention systems, your reward pathways, all still activated. True rest requires disengagement from stimulation, creating a tech-free buffer between social events and sleep. Even 30 minutes allows your biology to genuinely downregulate. The quiet boredom of this buffer period is actually the beginning of recovery. Nature exposure supports recovery. Research consistently shows that time in natural environments reduces cortisol, lowers heart rate, and improves mood. For introverts recovering from social events, a walk in a park or even sitting in a backyard can accelerate nervous system regulation. Nature provides sensory input that's complex but not demanding. Rustling leaves, bird songs, natural light patterns. Unlike social environments, nature doesn't require you to respond, perform, or regulate. It simply exists around you. Combining nature exposure with subsequent sleep creates synergistic recovery. The gut-brain axis. The bidirectional communication between your digestive system and your brain affects both stress response and sleep quality. Social stress can disrupt digestion. Poor gut health can worsen sleep and mood. Emerging research suggests that introverts may have different gut microbiome compositions than extroverts, though this field is still developing. What's clear is that supporting gut health through diet, probiotics, stress management supports sleep quality. After social events, gentle, nourishing foods rather than heavy or processed options may support better recovery sleep. Breath work, particularly slow, deep breathing, activates the vagus nerve and shifts your biology from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance. After social events, spending 5 to 10 minutes doing slow breathing, inhaling for 4 counts, exhaling for 6 or 8, can substantially improve sleep onset and quality. This practice doesn't require any equipment or expertise, just deliberate slowing of breath. Many introverts find this bridges the gap between the activated state of post-social wiredness and the calm required for sleep. Progressive muscle relaxation, tensing and releasing muscle groups sequentially, helps release the physical tension that accumulates during social performance. You may not realize how tense you became during the event. Shoulders raised, jaw clenched, hands gripped, until you consciously release it. This technique, developed in the 1920s and still used in clinical sleep medicine, shows consistent effectiveness for improving sleep onset. After social events, 5 minutes of progressive muscle relaxation can help your body catch up to your mind's exhaustion. Journaling before sleep, particularly expressive writing about the day's experiences, can reduce rumination. Research shows that spending 10 minutes writing about thoughts and feelings helps externalize them, reducing the need to continue processing them mentally. For introverts prone to replaying conversations, journaling creates a sense of closure. You've processed the experience. It's recorded. Your brain can stop holding it actively. This often improves sleep onset and reduces middle-of-the-night waking with racing thoughts. Gratitude practices, while sometimes dismissed as superficial positivity, have measurable effects on nervous system regulation and sleep quality. after social events that were difficult, finding one or two genuinely good moments, a meaningful conversation, a beautiful environment, a moment of authentic laughter, and consciously appreciating them shifts nervous system state. This isn't denying the difficulty. It's balancing the narrative. Research shows that gratitude practices before sleep improve sleep quality and reduce time to sleep onset. Self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend, reduces stress and improves well-being. Many introverts carry shame about their need for recovery, judging themselves as antisocial or weak. This self-judgment creates additional stress, which requires additional recovery. Research by Dr. Kristin Neff has shown that self-compassion practices improve mental health, reduce anxiety, and support better sleep. After social events, speaking to yourself kindly. That was hard for me, and I did it anyway. It's okay that I'm tired. I'm allowed to rest now. Reduces the emotional burden and supports healing sleep. And here, 3/4 through our journey, we arrive at a profound recognition. Rest is not earned. You don't have to justify your need for sleep. You don't have to prove you did enough socially to deserve recovery. Your body's signals, the fatigue, the overwhelm, the desire for silence, are valid simply because you feel them. Sleep is your birthright, not a reward. And honoring your need for it is not selfishness. It's survival. It's wisdom. It's coming home to yourself. Breathe slowly and feel the weight lifting. All the guilt about being too much or not enough socially. Let it dissolve. You are not required to be different than you are. Your need for rest is not a character flaw. It's a biological reality. Imagine all the judgment you've carried, from others, from yourself, being gently released with each exhale. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to need silence. You are allowed to sleep as long as your body requires. This is your permission. This is your truth. Now we continue toward rest. Sleep is where you remember who you are beneath the performance. In dreams and in darkness, the social mask dissolves completely. There's no one to impress, no role to maintain, no energy to manage carefully. Just you, existing without observation. This return to unobserved self is profoundly restorative. It's why many introverts describe the moment of sinking into sleep as relief. Not just physical, but existential. You're finally, fully alone with yourself. Your body knows what it needs, even when your mind doubts. The heaviness in your limbs after social events is communication, not weakness. Your biology is asking, clearly, for what would restore it. Learning to listen to these signals, to trust them, to honor them. This is a practice that deepens over time. Each time you choose, sleep over, pushing through, you strengthen the trust between your conscious mind and your body's wisdom. Some of the most creative, insightful, and deeply thoughtful people in history were introverts. Einstein, Gandhi, Rosa Parks, J.K. Rowling. Their need for solitude and rest wasn't despite their greatness. It was part of what enabled it. Deep thinking requires recovery time. Innovation requires space. Wisdom requires reflection. Your need for sleep after social exertion is part of the same temperament that allows you to think deeply, feel intensely, and create meaningfully. In sleep, Your subconscious processes what your conscious mind couldn't hold. The social dynamics you didn't fully understand in real time become clearer in dreams. The emotional undertones you sensed but couldn't name take shape. Sleep isn't just rest. It's where integration happens. You wake with insights that weren't available to you the night before. This is your introverted processing strength at work, turning experience into understanding. The world needs both introverts and extroverts. Extroverts bring energy, connection, and momentum. Introverts bring depth, reflection, and careful observation. Neither is better. Both are necessary. Your particular gifts, the ability to listen deeply, to notice what others miss, to think before speaking. These require the very temperament that also requires more recovery sleep. You can't have one without the other. Accept the whole package. Building a life that honors your introversion often means making choices others don't understand, leaving jobs that demand constant collaboration, choosing smaller social circles, living alone or with partners who respect your need for space, declining invitations that would cost more energy than they'd provide. These choices look selfish only to people who don't understand energy management. To you, they're survival. They're the choices that make sustainable well-being possible. Your energy is finite and precious. You wouldn't expect your phone to run indefinitely without charging. You wouldn't judge your phone for needing to plug in. Your body, infinitely more complex than any phone, also requires charging. Sleep is your charging time. Accepting this without judgment frees you from years of fighting your own design. Solitude and loneliness are not the same. Loneliness is the painful feeling of disconnection and isolation. Solitude is chosen time alone, restorative and nourishing. Many introverts experience profound solitude, contentment after social events. Not loneliness, but relief. The quiet feels good. This is healthy. This is your biology finding equilibrium. Sometimes the most radical act of self-care is simply going to bed. Not pushing through one more hour. Not staying up to prove something. Just listening when your body whispers enough and responding with kindness. Each time you honor this signal, you build trust. Your biology learns it can communicate with you. That you'll listen. That you'll protect it. The people who love you well will understand your needs. They won't pressure you to attend every gathering. They won't make you feel guilty for leaving early. They won't mock your need for recovery time. Real love accommodates temperamental differences. It doesn't demand that you become someone else to deserve affection. If your relationships require you to constantly override your needs, they may not be relationships worth depleting yourself for. Your worth is not measured by social productivity. You are not more valuable when you attend more parties, have more friends, or need less recovery time. Your worth is inherent. It exists regardless of how your energy functions. Disconnecting self-worth from social performance frees you to make choices based on actual needs rather than proving something. Rest is resistance in a culture that glorifies constant availability and productivity. Choosing sleep, claiming downtime, protecting your energy. These are meaningful acts in a world that wants you endlessly accessible. Your rest reclaims your humanity. It asserts that you exist for yourself, not just for what you can produce or provide to others. In the quiet dark of your bedroom, you are enough. Not the version of you that performs socially, not the you that manages impressions and regulates for others. Just you, breathing, existing, being. This you, the one no one else sees, deserves rest, deserves care, deserves hours of sleep without justification. Morning you will thank evening you for choosing sleep. The gift of rest you give yourself tonight creates the clarity, energy, and well-being of tomorrow. This is how you take care of your future self, by honoring your present needs. Each night of sufficient sleep is an investment in days that feel manageable rather than overwhelming. Your sensitivity is a strength, not a flaw. The same biology that gets overwhelmed by too much social stimulation is also the nervous system that perceives beauty in subtle moments. That notices what others miss, that feels deeply, thinks carefully, and creates meaningfully. The cost of this gift is the need for more recovery. It's a worthy trade. Sleep is where healing happens. Physical healing, emotional healing, psychological healing. Your body repairs tissue. Your brain consolidates memories and clears toxins. Your emotions integrate and settle. Your biology rebalances. None of this happens while you're awake and active. It only happens in the surrendered state of sleep. This makes sleep sacred, essential, non-negotiable. You have survived every social event you've ever attended, even the ones that felt unbearable, even the ones that left you depleted for days. You made it through, and then you rested, and then you recovered. Your resilience is real. But resilience doesn't mean you should constantly test your limits. Sometimes resilience looks like knowing your limits and respecting them before you reach crisis. The voice that tells you you're being too sensitive, too antisocial, too needy of rest. That voice often isn't yours. It's internalized messages from a culture built for extroversion. Your actual inner wisdom, the quiet voice beneath the criticism, probably just wants you to rest. Learning to distinguish between these voices, the internalized judgment versus your authentic knowing, takes practice. But your body's fatigue is always authentic, always trustworthy. Some nights, sleep comes easily. Other nights, despite exhaustion, your mind races with social replays. Both are part of being human. On the difficult nights, you can still rest, lying in darkness, breathing slowly, allowing your body to be horizontal and warm. This provides partial recovery even without sleep. You're still giving your body the conditions for healing. Sleep will come eventually, and when it doesn't, rest is still valuable. The most valuable relationship you have is with yourself, and part of that relationship is trust. Trusting that when you feel tired, you really are tired. Trusting that your needs are valid. Trusting that rest will restore you. Building this trust between your mind and your body, between your conscious awareness and your deeper wisdom, is perhaps the work of a lifetime. And it starts with simple acts, like choosing sleep when you need it. Your ancestors, long ago, slept when darkness fell and rested often. The modern expectation of constant availability is barely a century old. Your body carries ancient wisdom. It knows that darkness is for sleeping, that exertion requires rest, that energy must be carefully managed for survival. Listening to your body's signals about sleep connects you to something older and wiser than contemporary culture. Imagine a life where you don't apologize for needing sleep, where you simply state, calmly, "I need to rest now." And that's the end of the conversation, where your recovery time is planned into your schedule with the same respect as any other commitment. This life is possible. It requires boundary setting and self-advocacy, but it's possible, and it's worth creating. Every person listening to this, in rooms scattered across the world, carries their own relationship to rest. Some have honored it for years. Others are just beginning to understand. Wherever you are in this journey, you're exactly where you need to be. There's no timeline for learning to care for yourself well. There's only the choice, available in each moment, to move toward kindness rather than judgment. Sleep is not selfish. It's not lazy. It's not antisocial. It's biological necessity. It's how your particular biology restores function. It's how you return to yourself after giving energy to the world. It's how you survive. Reframing sleep this way, from indulgence to necessity, shifts everything. You stop asking permission. You start simply doing what must be done. And finally, this truth: you were never broken. Your need for more sleep after social events doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you're an introverted nervous system in an extroverted world. And you're doing the brave work of honoring your design instead of fighting it. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, know that every cell in your body is working to restore you. Your brain is clearing toxins. Your neurons are consolidating learning. Your emotions are integrating. Your energy is rebuilding. This is not wasted time. This is the work of being human. This is how you come home to yourself. Sleep well, dear one. You've earned this rest simply by existing. And tomorrow, you'll wake restored, remembered, and entirely, beautifully yourself. And so, our quiet journey through the science of introversion and sleep comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the neuroscience of social exhaustion, the glucose consumption, the cortisol patterns, the alert amygdala, to the deeper truth that your need for rest is not weakness, but design. From understanding how your brain processes social information more deeply than others, to recognizing that sleep is where you return to yourself after giving so much energy away. We've glimpsed how introversion is both a challenge in an extroverted world and a profound gift. The capacity for depth, reflection, and meaningful connection. The science of sleep reminds us that rest is not earned through productivity. It's required for survival. Much of the restoration happens in silence, in darkness, in the private hours when no one is watching. Your introversion reveals patience, self-awareness, and the courage to honor needs that others may not understand. Without sleep, your gifts, your insight, your creativity, your careful observation cannot flourish. By pausing to notice your body's wisdom, you glimpse the truth. You are perfectly designed for your purpose. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can. Think about the unity of every introverted soul who's ever felt this same fatigue after giving their energy to the world. You are not alone in this experience. Across time, across the globe, others have felt exactly what you feel. You are part of a quiet community of deep thinkers, careful observers, sensitive souls. Let your entire being dissolve into this knowing that your need for rest connects you to something larger than yourself. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left between you and the silence that restores you. Only peace, only breath, only the gentle darkness welcoming you home. If this thoughtful exploration of introversion and sleep helped you relax, fall asleep, or simply feel understood tonight, perhaps share it softly with someone else who needs permission to rest. A gentle subscribe or like could help another exhausted soul discover this peaceful space. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to us. One quiet tap, one sleepy soul at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, deeper into understanding yourself than most journeys ever take you. You can allow these thoughts about introversion, about energy, about your beautiful, sensitive biology to fade now, like morning mist dissolving in sunlight, leaving only the warm, drowsy calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if the earth itself is gently pulling you down into rest, into safety, into the place where no one needs anything from you. If sleep comes, let it carry you like a river current, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where performance ends, where masks dissolve, where you exist purely for yourself. If your eyes are still open, another video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm and entirely yours. Tomorrow, the world will still demand energy. People will still expect things. But tonight belongs to stillness. Tonight, you get to simply exist, unobserved, unjudged, completely free. Rest well, beautiful soul. And remember, your need for sleep after giving your energy to others is not a flaw in your design. It's proof that you're working exactly as intended. You are an introverted biology learning to honor its truth. And that truth is this: rest is your birthright. Claim it. Sink into it. Let it restore every part of you. Good night.